In the last part, Yuhao defeats Sister Ma Xiaotao and hides her inside his demiplane right in front of Zhong Lee, which completely breaks Zhong Lee. After which, Yuhao forces yet another Holy Ghost Church rank 95 titled Duluo Zhangpeng to self-destruct, and that's the end of him too. And watching all this killing, Zhong Lee completely loses it and jumps onto the battlefield himself to fight Yuhao, and the moment he gets there, he attacks with a tornado made of his soul power, and that's exactly where the last episode. So now at the start of this episode, we see that Yuhao is actually smiling watching this tornado. Because the whole tornado situation from Zhong Lee feels somewhat familiar to the feeling he had when he first formed both his soul cores, the only difference being that the first experience was far more dangerous. And right then, Yuhao takes advantage of this moment to try and understand the element of wind on a much deeper level, because his yin-yang complement soul cores give him a massive ability to comprehend things that nobody else around him possesses. After which, Zhong Lee starts feeling like something is off, because the color of his tornado begins shifting from green to blue. And right then, Yuhao takes the wind he's been building up in his hands and slams it directly into that massive tornado, causing the entire thing to scatter and break apart into tiny pieces. And on the other side, Zhong Lee creates a small but incredibly dangerous green ball from his Bone Dragon King called Extreme Wind and launches it as an attack. And when Yuhao tries to cut through it with his Empress Sword, even his ice power shatters against it. Then we see Yuhao use his spatial power to open a small gate and send that entire dangerous ball attack straight into his spectral demiplane, which makes it vanish on the spot. And seeing this, Zhong Lee shouts out in genuine shock. And right then, Zhong Lee switches his attack to fire, and this time the entire sky turns red, while burning meteors start crashing into Yuhao's snowy dance of ultimate ice. After which, Zhong Lee reveals that he had been storing up his real power all along, and explains that his Bone Dragon King isn't a true beast, which means it takes him a little time before he can tap into any element. And then he says, "My Bone Dragon King controls only fire and wind, but my grip on those two is nearly absolute. So what's coming at you right now is the most dangerous fire and wind attack this world has ever seen." Which is why we see blazing blue meteors start moving toward Yuhao again. And right at this moment, Yuhao pulls out his hidden weapon, the Morning Dew dagger, which is actually a godly weapon. And he uses that dagger to slice through every single meteor in midair, spinning so fast that not a single one touches him. And what makes this weapon special is that the Morning Dew dagger is actually forged from the tears of a frozen goddess, and this is the very first time its true power is being revealed to the world. After which, Zhong Lee admits that this dagger really is a godly weapon, to which Yuhao laughs and replies that if you hadn't lived 100 more years than me, you wouldn't even be worth standing across from me. And on the other side, Zhong Lee hears this and completely loses his cool because he just got publicly humiliated in front of an entire army. And then we see Zhong Lee reveal his true martial soul, true body, which is actually the death god demon puppet. And because of this, a huge death god sickle appears in his hand. After which, Zhong Lee relentlessly attacks with his sickle. And with every single strike, a strange death aura tries to push its way into Yuhao's body to devour his life energy. And right then, Yuhao keeps pushing that death aura out of his body using his spiritual power and ice power combined, while Zhong Lee keeps telling him to surrender, saying, "You will never hold against me, and with the talent inside you, you could easily become my inheritor in the Holy Ghost Church." To which Yuhao simply says, "Tell me that after you beat me." And on this side, Zhong Lee and his Bone Dragon King keep striking at Yuhao repeatedly, and watching Yuhao get pushed back over and over, everyone assumes he's about to lose. But what's actually happening is that Yuhao is deliberately playing weak, because he's quietly building up a dangerous necromantic power inside himself the entire time. And that's exactly why he intentionally lets that death aura stay on his armor so nobody can figure out what he's really planning. After which, suddenly, a white light shoots out and lands directly onto the Bone Dragon King. And in that same instant, the positions of Yuhao and Zhong Lee switch completely. And right then, Yuhao stands on top of Zhong Lee's head and fires a spiritual blast straight down. And immediately after that, drives his Morning Dew dagger directly into the Bone Dragon King's skull. After which, a white purification power covers the entire Bone Dragon King and its spirit fire goes out forever. Then we see that the moment his beast spirit is gone, Zhong Lee himself starts vomiting blood, because the Bone Dragon King had become a part of his own life force, and he can't understand how something this powerful was wiped out in a single strike. And what makes this even more devastating is that Yuhao is the only necromancer in this entire world who carries purification power, and that power is the single greatest enemy of any spectral creature. And watching all of this, Zhong Lee completely falls apart and finally admits defeat, saying, "Yuhao, you have won, but after today you have become the Holy Ghost Church's greatest enemy, and we will never allow you to become an ultimate douluo. You won today, but next time you will die." And saying this, he turns into a flash of light and disappears into the distant sky. And with this, we see that this is Yuhao's 5th victory, and a massive celebration erupts from Shrek Academy's side, while a dead silence falls over the Sun Moon Empire. And right then, Yuhao slowly drops to one knee on the ground from exhaustion, because in this battle, he had put his very life on the line, but his icy war god's armor is still glowing just as brightly as when he started. After which we see that after the Holy Ghost Church's leader's defeat, the remaining members can no longer find the courage to fight Yuhao, and Feng Ling bows before Zhu Ji with the rest of her surviving members, after which they all quietly step back, and on the other side, Zhong Lee flees from the scene to escape military punishment. Which means Zhu Ji is now the sole authority over the entire army. And at first, Zhu Ji is genuinely happy because her plan has worked out perfectly, but very quickly, a new worry enters her mind, because seeing Yuhao's power, she realizes he has now become far too famous and is about to become the Sun Moon Empire's #1 target. Right then, we see Yuhao slowly stand back up straight and begin rapidly recovering his power with the help of his yin-yang complement soul cores, after which he says in a cold voice, "Who's next?" And hearing this, every elder on the battlefield and every titled douluo standing on the Sun Moon Empire side is stunned, because everyone expected him to ask for rest, but instead, he's the one throwing out the next challenge himself. And then Zhu Ji turns to all the Class 9 Soul Engineers standing before her and asks which one of you is ready to defeat Yuhao. But for quite a long time, nobody steps forward, because everyone there has just witnessed someone as powerful as Zhong Lee lose, the same Zhong Lee who had even defeated the body sex leader Dubusi. And then finally, we see Terror Claw Soul Engineer Legion's commander Liao Menkai step forward and say, "Marshal, give me the chance. I will fight for the Empire." And what you need to know about Menkai is that he's the Legion commander of the Terror Claw Soul Engineer Legion, and this entire Legion specializes in close combat fighting. Meaning these are people who don't like fighting from a distance, but prefer getting right up in your face. And then we see Menkai fly straight toward Yuhao and pull out 2 black blades that look incredibly dangerous, and then he lands right in front of Yuhao and just stares him down for a moment. Then we see that the moment Menkai moves forward to attack with his blades, Yuhao easily stops him with his Morning Dew dagger, and right then, Menkai suddenly vanishes into the air as if he has some kind of spatial power soul tool, and right then Yuhao realizes this isn't ordinary teleportation but something else entirely, and he understands that this man is also trying to drain his power just like Zhong Lee was, and right then we see Yuhao activate one of his most dangerous techniques called Rain Dragon's Dance, which turns the entire sky into something resembling a frozen dragon. And because of this, 13 deep wounds appear on Menkai that break even his Class 9 protective barrier. But right here, a twist comes because we see Menkai throw both his blades simultaneously. And when Yuhao blocks one blade with his dagger, the second blade drives straight into his shoulder. And in that moment, we see Menkai laughing loudly, saying, "Ha ha ha, it looks like you got wounded by my blade," to which Yuhao calmly replies, "I never thought someone like you would spend their entire life perfecting just one single skill. If I hadn't caught on to your martial soul in time, things might have gone a lot worse for me." And right then, we see Menkai reveal his true nature, that his martial soul is a blade soul that can fuse with any metal object, and he had just used his 9th soul skill called Soul Splitting Blade, which means even an ultimate douluo cannot survive it. But then we see Yuhao calmly pull that 5-foot-long blade right out of his own shoulder, and seeing this, Menkai is left stunned, shouting, "How is this possible? Where are you still getting this much energy from?" And then Yuhao calmly replies that I kept you alive until now, just so I could show you how completely your attack failed against me, and now it's time for you to disappear from this world. And right then, Zhu Ji shouts out to show mercy, but there is no mercy on a battlefield, and in the very next instant, a massive blast goes off, and Menkai is blown to pieces. Then we see 2 streams of blood pour out from Yuhao's body, take the shape of a blade and try to attack him again. But a golden light shoots from his forehead and destroys that Bloodblade soul completely. And after this, he throws out the next challenge again. And by now, he has won 6 battles in total, having killed 3 people and wounded 2. And right then, it hits Zhu Ji that Yuhao proposed this entire challenge specifically so he could take out as many Class 9 Soul Engineers as possible. After which we see Elder Su step forward and say, "Marshal, give me one shot. I will take Yuhao out in one go." And what you should know is that Elder Su is a ranged attack specialist who heavily relies on the speed of his human-shaped soul tool. And then he comes before Yuhao and says, "You are very powerful, Yuhao, and I have to give you that. But unfortunately, we serve different masters, so I will finish you no matter what." To which Yuhao simply replies, "Then let's get started." After which Yuhao calls his Ice Bear King Little Bai for help and sits on his shoulder. And then we see Elder Su keep firing from his cannons continuously, but Little Bai dodges every single attack because Yuhao is warning him in advance through his spiritual detection sharing. And right then, Elder Su also uses a Class 8 gold melting cannon, but it still doesn't make much of an impact because Little Bai is an ice-type creature and is naturally resistant to fire attacks. And then we see Little Bai spin himself into a ball and charge like a meteor. And during this, Yuhao has actually quietly slipped off his back and already moved right up next to Elder Su. And the moment Elder Su locks his entire attention on Little Bai, his spiritual sea sends him a warning of danger. But by then, it's already too late and a blue light tears straight through his head. And just like that, we see Elder Su drop right where he stands, and the entire fight had been nothing but a trap where Little Bai was used as a decoy. After which we see that Juji doesn't have the strength to take any more losses and closes her eyes and says, "We surrender." And right then, some soul engineers try to protest, but Juji says firmly, "We are pulling back, and that is my order." And then she turns directly to Yuhao and says, "Yuhao, we accept that we lost today, but our fight is not over yet." After which the entire Sun Moon Empire army begins to retreat. But right here, the biggest twist of all comes, because just as Yuhao is about to step down from Little Bai, he suddenly feels something like hands closing around his throat, and his entire body goes numb. And then we see a black shadow form behind him with a black dagger moving straight toward his back. But right then, a golden light arrives like lightning, and it's none other than Tang Wutong. And in that moment, we see Tang Wutong throw herself between them and take the entire strike on herself, driving that dagger straight into her own chest. Then we see Yuhao slam his fist into that black shadow in fury and shatter it into pieces, and we find out that this was actually Zhong Liwu's death god demon puppet that he had left attached to Yuhao's body earlier. And right then we see Yuhao wrap his arms around Tang Wutong and keep calling out Wutong Wutong, and right then a golden light shoots from Tang Wutong's forehead and the shadow of a golden-haired person becomes visible, and this person is none other than a god named Rong Nianbing, who speaks in a cold voice saying, "I was simply looking for a successor. Yuhao is a very good kid, which is why I had already given him my godly seed." Immediately after this, the scene changes and we arrive in the God Realm where Tang San is speaking to Rong Nianbing in an angry tone. And he says, "Rong Nianbing, if you don't give me a straight answer right now, I will not let you leave from here." To which Rong Nianbing smiles and replies, "I know you must be furious, but what can I do? Where else was I going to find a boy with potential like this?" Finally, we see Tang San alone with his wife Xia Wu, revealing a massive secret. And he says if I hadn't removed that seal from Yuhao's body, Rong Nianbing would never have been able to reach him at all. Meaning everything that happened was completely intentional. And now we find out that a massive storm is coming for Yuhao and Tang Wutong's relationship in the days ahead. So what exactly is Tang San's next plan? And will Yuhao be able to make it through this new crisis? Stay with us in the next episode to find out. And if you enjoyed this episode, please don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel, guys. And until then, bye-bye, take